This is an extraordinary group of works by three of the great artists of the late 1900s, from Renoir's extraordinary portraits and Degas' devotion to the human figure and the depiction of movement, light, and onto Odilon Redon's amazing, fantastical, mystical imagery. Each and every single one of these things captures a new strand, a new thread that's followed right through the 20th century. In the 1860s, 1870s, art in France had experienced an extraordinary upheaval, the development of Impressionism, as it was called later, by the key artists Monet, Renoir, Sisley, Pissarro, dominated the avant-garde, a style of direct observation, looking at nature, looking at the world that they lived in, the city and the countryside, and painting it in a very loose, dynamic, lovely, thick brushwork and bright colours. But towards the end of the decade, they started developing their own individual ideas. Artists like Renoir devoted himself more and more to portraiture. Degas retreated back into intimate moments shared by private individuals. And other artists, such as Redon, left the real world to reintroduce symbols and ideas taken from new religions. We have two magical female portraits by Renoir in his mature style. La bohémienne is based on a long tradition of painting rural, pastoral subjects, which had become a major trope in French painting throughout the 19th century, but really harks all the way back to the Renaissance. You're looking at paintings by Titian and Giorgione, an idyllic view of the world, which Renoir picks up upon in pictures like La bohémienne and infuses it with his own modern style of painting, bringing life and liveliness to the figure and a certain extra sensibility, even romanticism, which is extremely present in the soft hair and the wonderful satiny sheen that he gives to the cloth and her own skin. The Femme is a painting of the 20th century, not the 19th. And as such, we are shown a young, well-dressed woman with a stylish haircut and her own glittering presence marked out by these lovely dark aqueous pools of eyes that she has. But Renoir manages to inject this extraordinary sense of romanticism, the rose that is tucked behind her hair, her own dress, the ruffles of her blouse, are all infused with a sense of vitality. Degas is probably one of the world's greatest artists in pastel. And in a work such as Femme à sa toilette, you see the way that he's created this almost firework effect in the background, but also the soft texture of her skin, the subtle indication of the shadow cast over her face. All of this is done by a complete master of the medium. Here we have a figure leant over a washing basin, and it's this curious arc of the arm, the lowering of the head, and the way that the side of her body catches the light, which is clearly what fascinates Degas. Odilon Redon's extraordinary, unique vision informed a very different style of art from the Impressionist painters who were his direct contemporaries. In the 1890s, he becomes truly one of the great artists in pastel. This extraordinary, rich blue that he uses to evoke the figure is one of the deepest, most beautiful colours in a work like this I've ever seen. The imagery that he uses in something like Profil bleu is entirely unique to him, but it draws on a great wealth of influences, new religions that were being learnt about from the Far East, and ancient Christianity, the art of Polynesia, the extraordinary sculptures discovered by Europeans in Africa or in South America. New cultures bring an extraordinary wealth of influences onto the artists of the early 20th century. And someone like Redon is already able to convey a sense of the curious, the enigmatic, the subconscious response to imagery, which would go on to fascinate an entire generation of artists in the 1920s and 1930s. This exceptional collection offers a very broad view of how art developed after the 1870s. These are more thoughtful works of art than the art of previous decade. They are more intimate, more personal. These offer glimpses into the art of the 20th century.